I spoke to a sales manager earlier this year, and she said that getting to know the customer as a person is the most important thing you can do. Because the more you know about them as a person, the more you can adjust your sales style, the more you can adjust the information you present, and the more you can make them want to do business with you. So Stan earlier talked about warmth and competence, right? Warmth and competence doesn't just apply to brands, it applies to people. I want to buy from someone I like. I want to buy from someone I trust. And if I have a better relationship with you than with someone else I'm working with, I might even be willing to sacrifice some things. I might be willing to pay more. I might be willing to not have that one feature in the kitchen that I really, really wanted. Because I want to do you the favor. Because you won the relationship. So here's some tips for building those relationships. I'd like everyone to take a moment and look at this slide. Keep staring until something happens. Keep looking. It's happening. What's everyone in the room doing? You're smiling. There is no better way to get someone to trust you, to build a relationship with them, than just look them in the face and give them a ridiculous grin. I got it right here. There it is. It works. Now, what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to make you turn your neighbor to it, because that might get a little awkward in this room, so we're not going to do that. But this absolutely works. It immediately says, this person's warmth is high. They have good intent. Second thing, share a story about yourself. Anyone remember how I started my time on stage? I told you about my first job. And while I was telling you that, you learned some information. You learned that construction is my family business. You learned that I knew a little bit about how to put a house together. And you learned that I didn't like the North Carolina heat. All of those things, if you were trying to sell me something, would be really good things for you to know. So share a story. And a funny thing happens when you share a story about yourself. Someone wants to share their story with you. What do we get when they share that story? More information. More information that we can use to continue building the relationship. Next up, be open. You can't close a deal if your arms are full. I believe this to be 100% true. Because if I were to give this entire presentation with my arms closed right now, you would think that I'm not a very nice person. You would think that I have some sort of aggression. Or if even while I was on stage, if I had my hands closed the entire time, it wouldn't feel right to you. But since I've got on the stage and I've walked up here, I've used really big gestures, I've made sure that my jacket is unbuttoned, I've made myself vulnerable to attack. Seriously, if you think about what Stan shared with us earlier, we are hardwired to want to protect ourselves. And so the second you say to someone, I'm open, but I don't actually say that, it's really, really awkward. But if you use open hand gestures, you greet them in a way that they feel like you're opening yourself to them, they will feel like it's okay to open themselves to you. Focus on them. If I were to give this entire presentation looking over here, what would you think I'd think about you? You might think I'm a little nervous. What if I looked over here? You might think I'm a little disinterested. In fact, the longer I stand with this is getting really awkward, guys. But my point is, if you're not focused on your prospect, you're going to lose them. Plain and simple. This is the most difficult thing. I was in the middle of a meeting the other day, and it wasn't a sales meeting, it was with a good friend of mine. And he said, Evan, what is it that's so important that you can't focus on what we're talking about here today? What do you mean? I am focused. You just told me X, Y, and Z? And my feedback on that is this. He said, but you make me feel unimportant. Every time your watch buzzes or every time your phone buzzes, you're off to handle something. I don't mind if you need to excuse yourself. And I thought about that for a minute. It's very easy to do that. We're in front of a very important person for us to meet. Because we feel like, what if this other thing is more important? What if I need to get to this right now? That says to our prospect, you're not the most important person to me. You're just another woman in the line that immediately erodes the relationship. You also want to flatter them a bit. A bit is the key statement here. I might say something like, you know, you're really smart to look at the school ratings in this community. That's a compliment. Well, I'm not going to say, oh man, you're one of the smartest guys I know. Tell me, how did you get so smart? Right? Because that's starting to feel like, does he actually believe that? Or is he just telling me that? Is that just a line? So there's a line between giving someone a line and genuinely making them feel important.